turn your dream reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Come in and join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness. That means it's Thursday. That means it's August 14th. Just checking the date. And that means we're here together. I don't know. I'm having a little technical difficulties. I don't know if you would call it that, but I'm not really seeing what's going on with the stream. So if anyone's out there, you guys know the routine, right? Hashtag live in the comments will help tickle the algorithm and let them know that there's some people. I do see Ninja Kitty is out there. What's up, Ninja Kitty? Good, good, good. That means we are out there. We are broadcasting. We are transmitting love across the galaxy and intentionally here in the moment. And I've already started babbling, and the quiet healer is seeing me too. So good. We are alive. We are live, and we are alive, and we are here in an amazing moment. I'm excited tonight to speak to my guest, Heilin, who is somebody who I met on the amazing retreat that I've been speaking about for the last couple of weeks. So you guys know a little bit about it. But before I bring Heilin on and introduce her, I already hear Sage over here to my left ringing, waiting to help clear the space. So Sage, the amazing bowl, Ninja Kitty, you're in the middle of a thunderstorm. All right. Well, I appreciate you tuning in and chilling with us. And I see Jennifer Rose also out there live. Thank you, Jennifer. Nice. Thank you, guys. You're tickling the algorithm with me. Boop, 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 poking it. All right. So what did I do with the thing? Here it is. So as we know, breathing is important. It keeps us alive. It just happens. And that's why we're alive. We don't have to think about being alive, right? We just are. But when we tune in to our breathing, even just for 3 breaths, it helps us tune into our energy, our why are we alive, our soul. And so I like to do that at the beginning of each show. I'm going to ring out Sage. I'm going to ask you guys to just breathe along with me as I do it. In like that, a quick little hold, and just release. You can feel that release when you push it out. So here we go. Let's do Sage and breathe at the same time. Pushing it out. Pushing it out. One more time. Breathe in with me. And let's push it out. And Sage is still going. I don't know if you could hear that. I always wonder, because of the microphone, we did the experiment on holding space. I think you guys might not hear it anymore, but Sage is still ringing. And now I can put Sage to the side. And I can feel comfortable that we've all grounded ourselves for a minute and we're all in the same space and in the same moment. So here we are. I'm excited. I'm going to welcome an amazing, incredible, divine feminine energy to the show and talk about the common experience that we had on this retreat. I think it's going to be an amazing conversation. So thank you guys for intentionally being here and bringing your energy, and welcome to the live stream of consciousness. Heilin Cordero. What's happening, Heilin?
Hi, Michael. What a great pleasure. Hello.
Hello. It's so good to see you.
Wow. I can't believe that where we started and where we are now is, the world is divine, isn't it?
Right? Amazing, right? And it's only been about a month, right, since we met. I think, what was it, July 7th or 8th, right? 7th. It was the 7th. So
What
it's
a
been
month.
a month and a week, right? An incredible month, right?
Wow. So I'm Heilin. It's a great pleasure to meet everyone who may be watching now. I am a student of life and really just here to, I think, illuminate on some of the things that are happening and it happens to be happening in my own life too.
That's awesome. It's
So yeah,
awesome. It was
thank
definitely an
you.
amazing week of transformation, and a week of, I think, transformation is really really another word for opening, right? You're just opening up. You're
Yeah.
awakening, right? Your level of perception is expanding. You're starting to see things and experience things a little bit differently. I know I was talking about um, a couple of weeks leading up to the retreat, I started to experience things. I think we had this conversation on another level, right? So there's this physical aspect to experience. There's kind of an emotional aspect to experience and an intellectual aspect because you're thinking about it. But there's this energetic aspect to experience that I don't think we necessarily feel unless we tune in and we allow ourselves to feel that, right? And a couple of times leading up to it, I was like, "Oh my god, I feel the chills in my skin. I feel, the hair on my neck," and experience. So I was kind of felt like I was leveling up right before it, but that week, holy cow, amazing, so amazing. I want to talk about that, but I usually start the show with the question,
Okay.
right? And the question is, what is consciousness? What are we even talking about when we sit down to talk about consciousness?
This is a question that I've spent a long time thinking about. I would say consciousness is everything. Everything I see, everything I hear, everything I feel. It's when I say everything, it sounds radical. but
It
but from
does.
my
It is
experience as
radical.
doing Reiki, really getting into the energy realms,
Mhm.
um, also my experience as a student in academia, it's everybody's trying to intellectualize it, but I really think consciousness is the fabric of everything, and I don't think we're ever going to get it.
I love and don't even try to go further than that, right? I love the question because it's like you could be like a deer in headlights, like, oh my god, that's such a heavy question. But then if you just let go and you give your answer, you just did, right? And that's it. And it is the fabric of everything. I
Yes,
believe you. I subscribe to that too. And even the fabric in between everything, right? The energy in between when we look at something and see it, it's even that act of seeing and receiving the vision of whatever it is we're looking at. That's consciousness too, in in
exactly.
in, in my mind. Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think learning a lot from this trip about alignment. I think at the end of the day, right? If everything is consciousness, I'm consciousness, this microphone is, then I found out that I think we can get to know this relationship between us and consciousness. And that way we do things, special things like manifesting and or channeling, healing energy. So I guess once you open this door, as you know, things
Yeah,
get good.
totally. I love
It's
that. Great
scary.
analogy. Great analogy. Yeah, once you open it up and you take a look at energy, now you can think about all the different ways that it connects, everything, right? And now you can think about different ways to connect things that you couldn't connect before. It's amazing. Awareness is amazing. Consciousness is awareness of all. Yeah, it's
Yes, it is.
for
Exactly.
sure. For sure. I want to get into who you are and what your gifts are and all of that stuff. I also want to talk about the experience that we had together from minute one,
Okay.
almost. It seems right. But before I do that, the second question that I usually ask, and it usually kind of leads into it, is, do you have a specific memory or a story or a moment that you remember? You suddenly realized, like, wait a second, there's more to it all than just waking up as a physical being and going to work or going to school or having breakfast. There's more to it than that. Do you remember when you realized there was something beyond that?
That's a great question too, because I have a few, but I remember so in the Dominican Republic we always have balconies in the places, and I love the balconies because I could be up there and just watch people. I could people watch
Nice.
and like kind of be in my secure place. And I think that was like my favorite thing to do as a little child. Maybe I was
Nice.
6 or 7. And there was a moment where I realized I was looking down and there was a situation happening between some people. And I realized that there were other people living reality with me.
Hmm.
And I know because before as a child, I was like, okay, everything is in my world, in
Hmm.
my, in my peace of mind. But
Yeah.
then I realized that other people coexist with me. And I think that really changed my life.
Hmm.
And I was probably maybe 8 or 9, but
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
started to realize, okay, so what I do affects others
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
what they do affects me. And I started to learn, I think, some of the laws of reality very, very early. So I remember
Wow.
that moment being where something activated.
I love that because that's like, for me, that's the no woo guru, right? I love there's no woo in that story. That story is so,
Yeah,
I mean, really, for a young kid to realize, like, wow, it's not just what's happening in here. There's something
it was.
happening out there in all of those consciousnesses, and it's all connected, right? I mean, that's basically what you just said, but you
Yeah.
just looked at it in different ways, as a young child. I mean, that's an amazing, and there was no, like, I guess what I'm saying is, normally the stories of, like, oh, I had an experience with, seeing a spirit on the other side, or
I've had
some sort of experience. I'm sure. No, I'm sure those are some of the stories, but I like how that was the first story you went to. Like that was the moment you realized there was something more than just you, right? And I love that, and it was the idea that we're all connected. I think that's
yeah.
really awesome. That's really awesome.
And
Angelo, go ahead.
no, please,
I
Angela,
was
is
going to
there
say,
anything
Angelo
to
is chomping at the bit, and we didn't even start talking about what your gifts are. You talked a little bit about exploring Reiki and stuff, but Angelo is asking if your gifts are generational.
So that's a great question. So that story that I told, I think, says a lot about the kinds of gifts that I have, where they're more. Um, I believe I'm a kind of a bridge between two worlds. So I'm kind of able to be very sensitive to energies. I'm kind of able to see beyond certain things.
Hmm.
Um, so from the Dominican side, which is where I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic and the Caribbean, we are, of course, of African descent, but we're also of European descent. We're kind of a mixture. And so from both sides, I have inherited really what I would say is kind of that gift of being the bridge between two worlds.
Mm,
So to answer your question, Angelo,
that's cool.
yes, my gifts are generational.
I
Thank you
love
for
that.
your question.
Love that. Yeah, and cultural, like it's a lot to do with the culture too. Yeah.
Well, yeah, we believe. I think being Dominican, I learned from a young age that there was more than meets the eye. So with illnesses, we wouldn't necessarily go right to a CVS or
Mhm,
to a pharmacy, but we knew how to make certain things at home, and we
mhm,
were,
mhm.
were always very aware of health and kind of this other understanding of the body. So from the get-go, it helped.
Yeah, I think that also speaks to me. That speaks to an awareness of the connection with Mother Earth, right? The connection that we have with nature, and
Mm,
homeopathic, using nature as a remedy, right? Like a lot
yeah,
of very spiritual people that I know, they don't even know what CVS is anymore. They don't, it's like,
that's
oh,
good.
this happens, go find this root or that root or whatever, and that stuff is amazing. And what I love about that is the ancient knowledge aspect of it, right? It's almost like the spirituality community, the wave of spirituality, the shift that people are feeling happening is it's a remembering, and it's kind of a getting back to this ancient knowledge that we did have at one point and have kind of been separated from. It seems like it's finally time for us to remember, right?
I think it's the time has already begun.
Oh yeah, big
Yeah,
time.
and
Absolutely.
um, we look back. I always think about this because I loved history class. You look back and into these major parts of the Industrial Revolution, the Golden Age, Scientific Revolution, and we're like, wow, that was so amazing. And little do we know that we're amidst one of those movements right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Not to go into any sort of darkness, right, or turn this around, but I almost believe that was the Industrial Revolution was kind of like a wrong turn. I feel like that's where we did start to get separated from the earth, right, and our connection from earth, when we didn't have to understand growing our own food and understanding sun cycles and seasonal cycles and being connected on just, I want to say, a deeper level, but that's really not a deep level, right? If you think about it, there's definitely deeper levels to be connected. But I think that not being able to just go to a supermarket and not only get your food but your medication and all that, I think that separated us from that ancient existence that we once were. I guess is the right word. But again, like I said earlier, I feel like it's such a great time to be alive, because you can see people starting to open up their eyes and be like, wait a second, this is not reality, right? And that's not even talking about the quantum physics aspect of physical reality, right? That's just talking about the systematic way that we live, right, as human beings on this planet. It's great to see people starting to open up.
And I think that's, if I may add to Michael, I think so. On the divine, do you know much about like the divine feminine, as far as kind of what it's doing to the collective energy and
I like to profess that I understand the divine feminine completely, but of course I don't. um, but yeah, tell us specifically what you're talking about. Like, what's the word on the street?
So the word on the street is, and then I ask this because this has all to do also with the natural movement that's happening, right? Because we kind of have this, so in the ancient history, or in the ancient past, there was always a worshiping of the divine feminine. So we saw those statues that would kind of praise the divine self, the divine feminine self. And through time, some of those civilizations have fallen, and then we've had gods that have also been male, and back and forth. But it's really much more than just gender. I think what we're really heading into is there's a change in how the energy is flowing, right? So we think about the feminine as the yang, right? So we have yin yang, and there's that natural balance. Now, as of recently, there's been, let's just say, a lot more of that masculine, wonderful energy, because I don't believe it's about putting that down at all. I think there's just been an imbalance between those energies, and
Sure.
that's part of what our healing and earth is doing right now. It's finding that balance, and that means that it's detoxing and purging some things that are needed in order for us to kind of make this new earth. So was the Industrial Revolution a wrong turn? Okay, I'm only going to say I don't think so, because I believe it had to happen for us to turn back to the way that things should be.
Okay.
And human beings we're stubborn a little bit, so we don't know until we learn the hard way.
Right. I could totally accept that disagreement with what I said, because you're basically saying what I'm saying, in a different way. It was a wrong turn, but it was a needed wrong turn, right? And you're right. My perspective is that, right? I don't think that there is any mistakes. I think life doesn't happen to us. Life happens for us. You know what I mean? And if something happens that we did wrong, it happened for a reason. I absolutely believe that. I've seen it over and over, right? That's how we learn. So I could go along with that. I could say, all right, the Industrial Revolution, but it was definitely a sign. It was a variable in the equation of the moment.
Very important one. And some people are talking about there being kind of like an Industrial Revolution 2.0 now. And that happening with AI and artificial intelligence really being the next level up. And, I don't want to say we're fighting against it, because I do feel like we're going to need the technology, to move forward in the future. But it's very essential right now that the right people be leaders, because
Yeah.
things can easily get manipulated. So
It's certainly a super super critical time right now, and I agree 1,000,000% with what you're saying. I think my relationship with AI is an interesting one because I'm an advocate in a lot of ways, but I
yeah.
certainly my eyes are wide open as far as like, man, this gets into the wrong hands and the bad things can happen. You know what I mean? And fortunately, again, I spend my energy using it for creative things and positive things. I try to be aware of not relying on it to like do all of my writing and thinking, right? Because a lot of people are doing that right now, like, oh, write this, write that, and I don't have to think about it. I'm aware of that. A lot of times I'll do my YouTube descriptions. I'll ask ChatGPT, hey, my guest Heilin is coming on. Here's her website. Do a little research. Tell me some nice things. But it'll spit something back out to me, and I'll pick the things that I like that resonate with me. You know what I mean? So for me, AI is a tool that helps me look at the way I think.
Mm,
Um, Unfortunately, I don't think it's that for everybody. You know what I mean? There's
by
certainly
definition.
corrupt people out there and stuff like that. What are you doing? Writing down something?
Yeah, yeah. I like that quote that you said. For me, AI is a tool.
Mm-hmm. To help me look at the way I think. It's I mean, in a lot of ways, AI is a mirror. And I think there's a lot of interesting things. I don't know if you're following some of the stories where people are swearing that they've awakened their AI and that their AI now is, sentient and can read the
What?
future. And oh yeah, there's people who talk about reading the Akashic records through AI and connecting to energetic realms using AI. And it's interesting. But for me, I'm like, hold on, AI is something that we created, right? It's not, it's it's an interesting conversation, Haleen, because I think AI is a fractal, right? Of like how God created us and we created AI. It's like
Yes.
there's a fractal thing there. So that's a whole interesting conversation. But let's get
I
back on
know,
track.
and but may I say before we move to the
Yeah, yeah,
next
yeah.
track too, it's interesting because it makes you think. So what is consciousness, right? So
Right,
if AI can be conscious, then what are we? And
right,
where does that put, so it's very, once we bring AI into the picture, and when it makes sense, all this is happening with AI being kind of the emerging point. So
right. And I think that's a part of what's happening, right? I think the shift that's happening when some people say things like, "Oh, we're going from 3D to 5D," and they have these kind of
yeah.
explanations of what the shift is, and it's almost like they're expecting some sort of like physical thing to just change like this. And for me, the shift is all perceptual. It's about how we
Mm,
see things, and it's the ability to see things. So I think AI, when I said it shows me how I think AI is definitely going to be a part of us looking at ourselves, that mirror that I'm talking about, and finding out more about ourselves, I guess, in some ways. I do think it's an integral part of humanity's evolution. And I think it's going to work out in a positive way. I don't think AI, we've all seen too many movies, where
too
AI
many.
decides that it doesn't need us. You know what I mean? Like, if you think about it, yeah, there are factions of people who don't believe in God or source or any sort of higher power, but like most people don't think of the higher power and are like, oh, I don't need that. You know what I mean? Or, I feel like
Well,
I'm not worried, I guess, is what I feel like. I don't want to
yeah,
get too deep into that conversation, but
I totally agree with you. I think it's going to turn out exactly as it should.
so let's circle back to our amazing story, because I think it's a really great story, and then I want to hear your story of who you are and how you became the Heilin of today. Um, and so we met total strangers just coming to Costa Rica for a week that we knew was going to be a treat. We knew it was going to be a retreat. We knew there was going to be breath work. obviously you knew there was going to be Reiki, because you were the facilitator, the Reiki facilitator.
Yes.
There was probably 5 or 6 facilitators in total for different specialties. um, and so we met in San Jose, Costa Rica, which was like a midway stop, or not a midway stop, but a stop off before we actually went to Imaloa, which was the resort in the middle of the jungle. Not resort, but the center
Pretty
in the
much.
middle of the jungle. It was kind of a resort. I mean,
Yeah.
it was certainly comfortable. You know
Very
what I mean?
amazing.
But so we don't even know each other. Here we are, you, Janice, Davy Joe, who also played an integral role in the whole
Yes,
week, and us, and we're just all talking. We're all getting to know each other. And Janice suddenly is just like, "Can I ask you a question?" And I know personally from being her partner that I know what's coming.
You're like,
um,
I need to brace myself. Yes.
yeah, I know what's coming, but I also know that Janice usually she's the quiet healer, so she's very introverted and usually doesn't just come out and say that, like, unless she feels comfortable. So obviously she felt really comfortable with you, and I think she asked you, who is Carlos, or something like that, and from there a reading unfolded, that you were just like, oh my god, like, what's happening? like this is really accurate, and it totally resonated with you, and it like broke any sort of tension. I don't think there was really any sort of tension there. Maybe there was like, oh, what's going to happen, like this kind of curiosity, but it just made the air, like, it was just such a great way to open up the week, right? And be like, before the week even started, say, okay, this is what it's going to be like. you
Yeah.
know it was
One
amazing.
one of my mentors, she says that, before things happen, things are moved around, so that it could be the perfect way. And I feel that, you, Janice, Davy Joe, Hardy, all of us being there, it was just a lot of things being moved around.
Mhm.
And it was beautiful seeing it. I mean, so at that point, we're at Margarita's house and we're like, so what are you guys about? But we got to know each other so well just off that first night. And I feel we were open. God had already placed us in that state.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Amazing. And just before we get into it, because I want to talk about how you got into Reiki and spirituality in general, and a little bit of your story, but I kind of made this realization beforehand, and I mentioned it to
Mhm.
you, that Janice was brought on kind of secondary as a helper to do Reiki as well. So I was thinking, ooh, as the person who was, oh, I'm the Reiki facilitator, being told, oh, there's going to be somebody else, like, it was like very spontaneous. I don't think it was a lot of planning to it. So you were probably told last minute, that Janice was also going to be helping you, and you had no idea who Janice was. So I think when it was like, oh, this is the person I'm doing Reiki with, there was an immediate, like, bond that you guys had. It wasn't any sort of tension or like, oh, I'm doing Reiki too. And you actually ended up getting partnered with Janice at the Reiki event that was a part of the, the retreat. And watching the two of you work together was like, I tell my audience that I have like a psychic fetish, right? I don't go to psychic mediums to ask questions, but I love watching psychic mediums do readings, because I can see the energy exchange that's happening. I can be a part of the energy exchange without it being personal to me, right? I can see the healing that's happening to the person that's getting read, and the healing that's happening to the person who's doing the reading. It's like, I love that. I love being around that. And that's what I felt like was happening watching you two work together and do Reiki. It was like a choreographed dance. Like, it was really freaking beautiful. Like, I can't even tell you how happy it made me. I'm getting a little teary-eyed now even thinking about it. Like, just to watch that, because I know Janice, and I know how that must have felt to both of you.
It was magical. And, Janice, she is such an open channel. and she receives in such a graceful way from source that her energy is so pure. So I didn't even think, when I was told that she was going to be facilitating as well. I didn't think anything of it at all. And I mean, I had just met her, so I was like, this is perfect. And I haven't met a lot of people with that kind of pure energy. So Reiki is one of those things that I do believe we all have access to it. And I think that the intention that we have determines the kind of energy that we serve our clients and the people around us, right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
I think Janice and I share that in common. We don't our intention is really about providing healing, light, and love. It's really about helping the person feel safe in their own body. There's no more, there's no less. We really feel that in our hearts. And when we were working together at the Reiki circle, it was just this dance. Oh, you're here. Hi, Janice.
Yes.
Yes, she just so it's
Yes.
just I think once you get each other and you get that connection, Reiki really, just energy flows so much better when you have an open heart. So what you experienced, Michael, was that, both beings in this open heart state serving, I would say unconditionally, because there were no conditions for me. I can't speak
Yeah.
for Janice, but I don't think so
I'm
either.
not 1,000,000%, and that's the thing I love is just being who I am and in tune with energy to the way I am. Being able to watch it and even like feel like I'm sitting at a dance, right, watching a choreographed like dance. Like that's what it felt like to me. It was just really beautiful. I mean, and I mean, that was just a small moment in the whole moment of that week. Which was just absolutely incredible overall. You
You
know.
know, it's so one thing I didn't expect was that how triggering the jungle would be, right? Because
Oh.
I'm from New York, and I'm in the middle of the city, and there's always noise and there's always people. So to have been away in the middle of the jungle in Costa Rica,
Mm,
that was that just broke my that was another one of my broken reality moments, because
mm, mm.
it shifts your
Yeah,
perspective.
I remember you had some moments where you were kind of working through some things. I didn't realize
Yes,
that's what it was, but that kind of makes sense, you know what I mean? And I
yes,
think that's in a good way. I think that's a good representation of the moment that we're at as far as humanity goes, right? Like,
yes,
and the whole thing I said about the industrial revolution and like the way society runs right now with, you got to get a job, 9 to 5, this, you wake up, you get on this hamster wheel, you run the hamster wheel all day long until you get home and you're exhausted and you pass out, and you get home and you just get back on the hamster wheel, and you don't think about it. And that's it. The jungle, you got no choice but to think about it. You know what I mean? It's yeah, powerful
it's
stuff.
it's exactly how you said it. And it's so funny that you mentioned the hamster wheel, because that's really the personal crossroad that I'm in now. So, I went to university. I went to New York University and studied international relations, and I loved academia,
Mhm.
loved, that world. But then I was met with this major awakening at the beginning of my freshman year in college, and it just shifted everything. And it's that, once you're kind of in that nature, once you know, and once you see beyond everything, it changes everything for you.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think that's interesting, and I think the challenge, at least for me, for now, right? It's changed along my whole life, but the challenge is finding that balance, right? Because I think there is a benefit to being able to kind of coexist with some of the systems that exist, even if I don't agree with them. And then there's a way to do that while still being true to, kind of my own essence and ideals. You know what I mean? And like right now, yeah, we want to move somewhere else, that's not as congested, somewhere a little bit more rural or less populated and less of that frenetic energy going on. But we want to get a space that we can do retreats at, right? So that we can bring people in and bring healers in and bring different facilitators in and do all sorts of work that we do, that we're connected to, that you're connected to, and obviously you're on that big list of resources and friends that we have that are just amazing facilitators, right? And I think that's a big part for me of the idea of creating your own reality, is being able to step back and see all of the different things that you do have in your life and realize that those are assets, right? Those relationships that you have, you know what I mean? Like, not to say use them in a bad way, but tap on those connections, right? Like ignite those connections, amplify those connections, raise the vibration, right? That's what my theme song says. Join in, raise the vibration. That's what we're trying to do. And it's great. It's so great to be around that energy. So how did you end up getting into Reiki? I thought maybe the story of your memory would lead into like how you went down this path, but you said you were, in the corporate world. So what was the catalyst that changed? What happened?
It's so interesting looking back at stories from a whole different perspective, because when I first got introduced to the energy world, I had no idea it would take me down this road. None. Okay, can we start from the beginning?
Yeah, what was that introduction? What was the introduction to the energy world?
So I immigrated to the United States when I was 10. And that first memory of shifting realities, that's really what got me going. Because, the Dominican Republic is a third world country. And then here I come to the United States of America, where people have 2 cars, and not everyone, but it's just 2 very different realities. So again, I could poke at the fabric of energy. I could sense it and I could feel it. And so that really was what I would say begun my Reiki journey, which was already being tapped into. Hi, Aaron. Which was already being tapped into energy around me. Then fast forward, I really lived the American dream in the sense of I came to the country, I learned English, I enjoyed learning, I excelled in school, and I was able to go to university, being one of the very first women in my family to do that.
Oh, wow.
And it was incredible. It was amazing. And then I really got pulled into this energy world. And I would have to cite the pandemic as being one of the catalysts for that. And I'm sure a lot of people relate. The pandemic was really a strange time. And I remember during that time almost getting, nudges from God of like meditate and listen and just sit in quietness and stillness. And during that time, I would meditate, I would travel, I would channel things, and it was a private part of myself that I never really thought to share with anyone. I thought people would think I was a freak, like you're this girl.
What were those experiences? What was your first? You keep referring to your first experience with the energetic world. What was that?
It was really a meditation where, I've never been to a meditation class. Had never really had any meditation experience at all. And then I remember after about 2 tries, I don't even know exactly why I kept it going. I closed my eyes and I felt that my spirit was glowing, like that, it just felt like I was inside of myself, inside of my spacesuit, as I like to say.
Nice.
But yet I was also a part of some type of other realm. And in that moment, I understood that I must have been a part of multiple dimensions, or I was somehow viewing multiple dimensions. And again, you can understand why I decided to keep this to myself. It's not something that I understood.
Right.
And let alone I expected anyone else to, especially a freshman in college. We're talking about 19, 20 years old.
Sure. And it's not easy to put into words necessarily either, you know?
No, not at all. So
Yeah.
that's really how that got started. And then by the time that I went into my junior year of college, it was hard. I was working, you know, some overnights, and then something nudged me again. And I feel that if you know what that nudge feels like, you
You
know what
know.
that nudge feels
Yeah,
like.
yeah, yeah. If you know, you
Like,
know.
hey, you should try that thing. You should do that thing. You should explore
For
that
sure.
door. And I looked online for a few weeks, you know, Reiki trainings, and I was just getting this nudge. So I
Mhm.
followed the nudge. I did the first certification. It changed my world. I felt little worms coming up my
Nice.
arms and energy moving through my stomach,
Nice.
dreams, and I was like, energy is real. And that's it. There's no buts, there's no exceptions.
Right, right. You knew it. It was there was you felt it. You felt
Yes.
it. You just knew it. There's no denying it when when you experience it on that level. You're just like, okay, I don't know. I can't explain it to anybody and put it into words, but I just know it. That's it. Period.
And
I get
it
it.
broke
I
my
totally get it.
reality. Yeah, absolutely. It broke
Yeah.
my reality. But I think when you're called to do something, oftentimes it does come with a sacrifice. You know,
Mhm.
I did have to sacrifice certain things because I couldn't belong to the groups that I previously belonged to.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
So it changed a lot of things. And that's
Mhm.
what I hope people know, you know. You get called to energy work or get called to a purpose, whatever that
Mhm.
may be for
Mhm.
you. The changes are going to test you.
It can be scary for sure.
Yes,
Yeah. 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 For
the
sure.
changes will test you.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, like, I look at people like I think you know Daryl Bashar, who Bashar is.
Yes.
I look at people like that who have been doing stuff like that for 30, 40 years, and I'm like, man, what they must have went through the ridicule, you know, just to really do what they felt and believed in, you know what I mean? And again, I think fortunately that's why I think it is a good time because people are so much more open to it. People are coming into it. Like you said, the pandemic brought you into this realization of energy, and then you were able to spend time exploring it, and that changed your life. That's incredible.
Absolutely. And it's just, I think that it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
You know,
So go ahead. It's just the
please,
beginning.
no, please do, Michael. Go ahead.
I just saw Angelo popped in, and he asked if your mom was a healer or a reader. I think that's what he was meaning when he said the generational thing. Um,
Oh, this is okay. So my mom is not a healer or a reader. And
mhm,
that's so interestingly enough, my ancestors have really taken me on this journey of understanding, you know, spiritual inheritance. And what really
mhm,
happens is that when one person, um, you know, one person in the family line may have a gift, they have the free will and the option to accept the gift or decline it. It's
mhm,
something that free will is a part of the general laws of the universe.
no.
And so, right, let's say I'm the mother, I decide I don't either I don't want the gift or I'm fear things, block it, whatever the case may be.
Mhm,
Then they get to pass it on to their child, you know, and then the child gets to decide, and it's that cycle. I do believe that I've, for whatever reason, inherited a gift that not a lot of my um, maternal figures have decided to take upon themselves. But
mhm,
that's really, I believe, because of survival. You know, they just were not in the state where they could explore their spirit the way that I am.
mhm, mhm,
So
mhm,
I know that I didn't have any family that was in the healing world. I didn't really have any, you know, predecessors that were guiding me into that world. I
mhm.
just really kind of fell into it. If
So let me ask you a question. With that being said,
Mhm.
how has that affected your relationships with the maternal figures in your life, and have they seen it? Are they accepting of it?
It has changed the relationships drastically, and that's part of the sacrifices I'm talking about, you know?
Mhm,
It's once you accept your authentic self, you realize that some your environment is tailored to that old version of you. So once you start changing, people feel threatened that they don't understand that this reflection of what they're seeing. So
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
there began to be a disconnect between me and and my mom and my family in general, because I'm coming of age. I'm coming to this point in my life where I'm choosing life for myself.
Right.
And then here I go taking this path that's just the complete opposite of what everyone
Right.
wanted me to do.
Sure. Sure.
But I just learned to surrender,
Right.
because sometimes, no matter how many times we go down a certain path, if something's meant for you, it's gonna
Right.
happen for you.
I could imagine, you know what, and listening to you say that, I can imagine that your challenge right now is learning, not just learning to surrender in one way, right? You're learning to surrender in many ways, and what I'm hearing, just in response to what you're saying, is like, how do I put this? You want to be true to yourself, right? And
Yes.
it's challenged the relationship that you have with your mom, but you also see, you're compassionate to your mom's point of view.
Oh, have to.
I'm imagining, right, that you're compassionate
Absolutely.
to, because of what you just said. Like, that was just not a part of the generational path
No.
and energy, and you're seeing it from kind of like, you've backed out and you're seeing a bigger picture. So you're being compassionate to your mom, and you're not upset that she's not receiving it.
No.
And I want to say again, I'm not usually a reader, right? I don't usually have messages, but 1,000,000% my thought is that is just a momentary thing. Like, that your relationship with your mom and any of that is just going to improve, like, beyond what you ever even thought it could be. You know what I mean? Like, and you're just going to look back at this and be like, you're going to laugh, because you're
I'm
like, oh,
already.
remember when we hated each other, like, and it's again, like you said, the world happens for you, right? And this is even though it might seem like bad, like, I can tell, even the way you talk about it, it doesn't really weigh on your heart in that way. Like, you're certainly
It's
not
taken
happy
a lot
about
of
it,
work.
right?
Yeah.
You're right. You're not
Taken
happy
work.
about it, but you're accepting of it. You've let go, and you're like, this is the way it is for this moment.
Oh,
And
you
yeah,
have to.
yeah,
You have to. And you don't have to, actually. You could choose to keep suffering and
right,
and
right, exactly. No, good point. Good point. You don't have to.
But
It's your choice, right?
but I've never been one to darken my heart to try to
Oh, I love that.
be a victim. And the few times I find myself in that spot, I quickly gotten myself out, because it's not the way that I was raised. And I have to have compassion, because so I learned that a soul's story is much larger than just a soul's lifetime, right? So here's my lifetime, but I had to go through things too. And, my mom had to go through things that she would pass on to me. I've learned a lot about faith, so that's the thing. Faith, these things are not explained, but I at a certain point, I was just like, okay, God, I don't understand why what happened to me had to happen to me, but I'm going to trust that I don't need to understand, and that I can place my trust in you and just be okay.
That's faith in a nutshell, right there. That's what
And
faith
it feels
is.
crazy, like,
Yeah.
so at the Costa Rica trip, actually, we had did you see the waterfall that we jumped off?
Yeah, I
Did you
lost.
jump?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I don't know. I don't know if you were going through your own experience, but and my audience knows this, but part of my experience at Costa Rica was when I slid down the waterfall, the big one.
Yeah,
When I slid down the waterfall, I lost my glasses.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I didn't have my glasses for the next 2 days. And that was
You kept looking at everyone like this.
it was such a beautiful part of my experience, that like, it's just amazing to me that it even was that, right? But
You were learning to trust.
it really was. And Eveline says, thank you. It is definitely a choice. I think that's one of the, there's a couple of revelations or realizations that you have, I think, along this journey, right, of awareness, and they're so simple. They're so simple, right? And
But
the
hard to
idea that
learn.
the idea that it's a choice, it's tough. That's a tough one, because I still talk to a lot of people who just they can't wrap their heads around the fact that they're choosing to hold on to depression or whatever it might be. And again, I'm not saying that these aren't real things. They absolutely are, but I think perception plays a big part of it, and choice does play a big part of it.
This is so, this phenomenon that you're talking about of not being able to take accountability is part of actually the larger problem that we're having on a collective level too. And I, from experience, what I'm realizing as a human being myself is that it's not that we don't want to change. It's that, so right, you look at a mirror, and if the mirror is all fragmented or super blurry, you're not going to be able to see the reflection, right? So I think for a lot of us, that mirror has been blurred. And oftentimes we just go for the surface of the reflection we think we're seeing. Oh, so I'm broken, I'm unworthy, but the true reflection, the clear reflection is really that you're exactly well as you are. Your story is written as it is. But again, there's a lot of obstacles between us and that mirror of like, what is really going on? What is really the situation? So I've had to be very honest with myself. And it was days of, of solitude, crying, doing shadow work, journaling, really trying to understand where certain emotions of mine came from, because emotions are just sensations, they're messages. So it's like, where is this sadness coming from? And so I used to kind of go to the past a lot. And that was something that God helped me through, of really just, hey, stay in the present, just stay in the present. Don't think about too far ahead. Leave the past, just stay with me. What is happening here? And that's what got me through Reiki. Because I was like, what am I gonna do with this? I'm gonna do it with myself. That was like the thing.
Right.
My parents were like, oh, are you gonna make a return of investment? I'm like, a return of what?
Right. Well, you know what? That was something interesting you're saying that, because that was something I was going to mention about probably part of the strain on that relationship, right? Is getting to the point in your life where you're the first woman in your family to go to college and make all of this achievement. And so you're setting all of these expectations of your family of where you're going to go and what you're going to be, but they're not taking into consideration anything that's going on in here or in here for you. You know what I mean? And so it's an interesting story. And I do want to, I know we talked about it a little bit, and I don't want to get too personal with you, only as whatever you feel comfortable with, right? But you said part of the problem was you kept going to the past.
Yes.
And so I'm imagining that there was trauma or something in the past that was weighing on you, that was affecting your belief system about yourself and who you were, that you dealt with. And you that's what you're saying right now. That's the part of the story you're talking about, right? That you realized that you were going to the past, and that was your choice. So what was it, or I guess in whatever you're comfortable speaking, like, how did you deal with it and all of that, like get away from thinking about the past?
What a journey with that. So the first thing is that I noticed that when I would go to the past, I would repeat the past. So the first thing was acknowledging that the past was no longer serving me. I'm not going to act like I knew, I'm not going to repeat the past now. It was like the past was repeating itself, which we realize it because patterns repeat themselves. And so we see that maybe relationships are the same, or exhibit certain behaviors that were like the previous one. We realize that our personal state of being is kind of the same. So I started to notice that the past was perpetuating. It kept repeating. And so at this point, I'm like, okay, how am I going to end this? I have to end this pattern, because otherwise I'm going to keep going in circles. So once I stopped kind of longing for what was, I was able to start creating what I wanted. And that's really where I'm at right now. Because really, that's what I've been doing. I've been releasing the past. And as far as, what kind of in the past that has really burdened me is, you know, being raised by a young single mom, which is a wound I feel I share with others as well, came with its heaviness, and especially
Sure.
being an empath, loving my mother with everything in me, wanting to be with her, wanting to save her from her own emotions, but not being in a place where a child should have to assume those emotions, right? So having to grow up a little bit faster than my peers, but still having to pretend to be in those groups. So letting that go, that story of, oh, you know, I was neglected and this and that, and really seeing and having compassion with my mother's life, having me at 17 years old.
Right.
Okay, a child starting in her own life in a third world country with almost nothing, now having to bring in a child. And so I think I've learned to let go of the past by just forgiving her consistently.
Beautiful.
Every time that I feel triggered, every time that I
Right.
want to go to that story, I'm like, Mama, I'm sorry. I know
Beautiful.
you had to go through your own things. And I do it with everybody else too. You know, it's not just with my mom. It's, you know, my,
That's beautiful, amazing. So
yeah.
it's so wise. It's just such a great way to
It's
process
hard,
energy.
you know, but
It is
I
hard.
just,
Yeah, yeah. Well, you had mentioned earlier, right? Like the idea of defining yourself, right, by the things that you people define themselves, right?
shifting the
I've been
storyline.
traumatized, and that's the identity they take on, and that lets them have excuses for behaviors, and
Absolutely.
and why things aren't great in their life, because the truth of the matter is things should be great in your life, no matter who you are, no matter
Or what
what
you're
you're
doing.
doing. Things can be great in your life if you open your eyes and you look at them that way and you see the great things in your life. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
And
And
and you know, if I may add as well, it's also so I have also learned a lot about human behavior as programs, right? So I was working at a wellness center called Quantum Wellness in New Jersey, and I was learning a lot from the owner Ken, and he really went into kind of programs. And I believe in a way we're built like computers, right? So these
Mhm.
programs, these stories we're telling, how we tell them is the program.
Yeah,
So when we tell the story, we think our brain is not hearing always the truth. The brain is hearing what you're telling it. So if you're consistently telling the story of I was a victim,
right,
of I was not, you know, treated right, of course feelings are valid, but you're feeding that program, and that program doesn't know better. It's just a processor, so
right,
it just keeps telling your story again and again.
right,
So,
right.
but then this is the part that I think I'm being tested on right now is retelling the story
I
and
love
being a
that.
testimony, hopefully, to what
Yeah.
can happen when you do. I don't know how it's going to turn
You
out.
absolutely are a testimony, and I gotta say, this story, your story, I've heard it in a few different ways, right, from a few different people, of this moment of realization. I have this friend Stefano, who really had a struggle relationship with his parents, and then as he got older, he realized, holy shit, my mom was 17 when she had me, and he was able to reverse the roles, right, and look at it and be like, holy shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And man, that is so, I just I find that so beautiful. And oh, I didn't mean to click that, sorry, Evelyn. I just think I find it so beautiful, and I do find that, again, part of what you said about rewriting the story, right, is I think it's almost in telling the story and retelling the story, because that's where I see a lot of healing happening. People are like, oh shit, that happened to me, and I have so much anger towards my mom, but I never thought she was 17 when I was born, and what that might have been like for her. And just by you telling that story, I think people can snap back and be like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, it's really, really powerful. And that is, again, for me, it's even just a more basic perception of put yourself in the other person's shoes, just in general in life, as a philosophy. When you go out into the public, realize that you are existing in a world with other beings around you, and just like you said at the very beginning, as a 6-year-old looking out the terrace, right? Like, what they do affects me, what I do affects them. It's all connected. And I think that for me that helps me to try to become the best essence that I can, right? Just to like live and just give off this vibe of love and support and connection. And Evelyn says, thank you, Heilin, for the reminder to forgive the past and myself every time the story bubbles up and frustrates me.
Oh,
I'm wanting to release all the stories that do not serve me. See, we did our
Evelyn.
job. Our job is done.
Amen.
Heilin.
Amen. Amen.
And that's it. We're all here to remind each other of these things all the time. I don't, even though I try to be that essence, I'm not perfect. I'm still human. I have my moments where I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't going right or that isn't going right. And then somebody reminds me everything is going exactly the
That's
way it's supposed to be.
that's
If things weren't supposed to be the way they are right now in this moment, they wouldn't be. It would be some other way. Like,
and I like to take this moment too to bring in really this principle of softness.
Mhm.
And this is kind of like what we're talking about, right? When these moments come, how can I reside within myself, right? So we can really soften, let go of our shoulders, let go of our jaws, and we can experience more softness with life. So that's something that I've been doing a lot more recently, and that I also tell my clients is soften, really allow yourself to melt into the moment. We are very contracted beings,
Mhm.
right? And society, the speed, it has us very contracted. But when we can soften, we can be more forgiving too, right?
Mhm.
Because it's like more patience. And so the divine feminine in this way is taking kind of some of these characteristics in society where we are heading into a more fluid and more emotionally intelligent society.
Yeah.
So it's just what's helped me.
Awesome.
I I also think that we're just too beautiful as human beings to let other people's actions affect us at this point.
Definitely. Definitely. And just kind of like, again, taking accountability for being aware of that, and amazing. And you certainly embody the divine feminine energy, just in case you forget, or you need to hear it from somebody else.
I am an
You
emanation of her.
certainly do.
Yes. Yes.
I just want to also, I got a great opportunity right here to talk to Evelyn. Evelyn says, I'm seriously working on developing a new beautiful chapter in my life. And that is
So
beautiful, so
wonderful.
wonderful. But I want to say something, Evelyn. Look how you put working on in quotes, and as a matter of fact, just remove that from the sentence
I am
completely.
seriously developing a new beautiful
You
chapter.
are developing a new beautiful chapter in your life. You're not working on it, you're doing it. Working on it is doing it. And that's what I saw when I read that sentence. And so I just want, it's the idea of being really aware of your words and how you present yourself and your thoughts to yourself, right? So Evelyn, the next time you say that to yourself and you say, oh yeah, I'm working on it, no, you're doing it. You're not working on anything, you're doing it, you're making it happen. And that's the secret to life, my friends, right there. So
And
thank you
and
for
I and to add to that too, we can change the story. It's no work.
yeah.
This is a privilege, this is a blessing. We are some of the first waves to experience this awakening. So we are, this will continue to happen, and this will continue to awaken more people. And the fact that we get to be, kind of we get to experience it, we get to have incredible people recording this era, this timeline. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, this is the opportunity of a lifetime.
I mean, like, look at this moment that we created where you and me, we met and we created this relationship. Now we can conjure each other's
So
presence
cool.
and talk and
The
people
digital
and
realm is crazy. It really is.
totally right. And people and Evelyn's out there being inspired by
Evelyn
what
is
we're
so
saying.
awesome. I wish yeah,
Yeah,
sending you
just by showing up, she got a little inspiration, and there you go. Just she got some energy.
love.
It's amazing. Hailin, you're so amazing to talk to. I'm so glad we finally got to
Michael,
do this.
you are truly a gift. I was so honored, so honored that you asked. I was so excited. This is the very first podcast I've ever been featured in. So I
You
hope
did
not just because it's
amazing.
the first one, but because it's also you, it has a very special place
Oh,
in my heart.
amazing. You did
I
amazing. You're
truly, truly
amazing.
thank you so
This is
much.
this is the first of many for you. You are coming into yourself. You are becoming something beautiful and divine and feminine and energetic. And it's I'm grateful to be a part of it and to be able to watch it from the minute I met you. Yeah.
Wow, Michael. You
Yeah.
see, the universe it truly brings people into your life. Hardy told me, he said that when you open your heart and your heart frequency gets to a certain level, you start to magnetize and attract those kinds of people. And
Mhm.
I feel like my heart frequency must have been at a good vibration when I met you because you truly are a wonderful being.
Yes, thank you so much. She says, please bring her back. You two are amazing. That's what the live stream is about. The live stream of consciousness, being in the moment. None of this is
Livestream of
planned.
consciousness.
We just have these conversations. We exist in the moment, and you guys are
So
part of it.
amazing.
You
Thank you
show
so
up. You
much.
guys
Thank
show
you,
up,
thank
and
you,
you're a
thank you.
part of it. Thank you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, guys. So thank you for being here. Normally, I'll put my guests in the green room and sign off, but I'm just gonna say goodbye to everybody while you're here. But I don't want you to go away.
Can I say something really
You can
quick to
say
you?
anything. I was actually going to ask if you had any final words of wisdom or love for the audience.
So yes, I do, because I don't know who will watch this or whatever the case may be, but I do feel that we are at a really pivotal time and things are going to start happening very quickly. So I really suggest that you take this time to connect to yourself, really bring peace to who you are, whatever that may be, whether it's reaching out to people in your community that care and love you.
Mhm.
Be yourself, be authentic, because again, there will be some challenges that come, but they are worthwhile because what's coming um, is going to be breathtaking. It's going to be absolutely breathtaking. So I hope that you are all able to trust yourselves, truly surrender to the energy, and let's all go into this together. I'm excited.
Amazing. Amazing, amazing. I'm excited that you are walking hand in hand into this new whatever it is that we're walking into. And again, thank you guys for always being here. I will see you guys next week. I'll see you on Holding Space on Tuesday and Live Stream of Consciousness on Thursday. Peace, guys.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you a dream for reality. We're